How much can debt actually teach us? This is what I want to explore in today's episode. You're with me here today, Rosalia, the host and founder of the Money Honey. And of course, as this show is all about the Money Honeys, I have invited a special guest here today, a female property investor, entrepreneur, author, and financial trailblazer who's going to be teaching us or sharing with us her journey about how she learned about money and property and built a phenomenal business, built a phenomenal portfolio and a rent-to-rent lettings business. So whether it's good debt, bad debt, how does money education actually develop? How do we actually learn about money? We can't just read about it. We actually have to do something with money to actually learn about it. So I am so excited today to welcome my new Instagram friend who I've been following on Instagram for a while, but never actually met before. Sarah Poynton-Ryan. Hello, welcome.
Hello.
Hi.
Thanks for having me. I'm very excited to be
Hey,
here.
I'm glad you are because we are too to hear from you because you're absolutely killing it. You're smashing it. But what does that actually mean? So before we dive into that, let's get an intro. Let's get to know you a little bit more.
Yeah, so you definitely alluded to some of it there when you introed me. And I think I've been on an interesting trajectory, let's say, since I started. So 2015 is kind of when it all started to change for me. So we were getting married in 2015, and at the time I was in quite a lot of debt, credit card debt, overdrafts, loans, that sort of stuff, all the bad debt, all the debt that was draining my resources to have. And I'd reached a point in my life where actually I just didn't really want to live like that anymore. I don't know if people listening to this can relate to that at all, but having loads of debt actually just takes up a lot of headspace, a lot of energy. Every decision you ever make comes back to, can I afford it? And I just didn't enjoy that aspect of my life. So I decided I needed to do something about it. I started learning about property. That's where I started. And like you said, I built quite a big rent-to-rent business, managing properties for other people. And alongside that, I also built a business building portfolios for other people where I would take like a consultancy fee for introducing investments to them. So I started that 2015. It took me about 23 months to clear my 60K of debt. And then from that point, I had money for the first time ever, really, in my adult life. I'd always kind of lived on my plastic. And at that point, then we started to invest. So we built a buy-to-let portfolio, my husband and I. We started to buy houses, do them up, sell them, or do them up and rent them out. And then it evolved into investing in other things, and it's kind of just got out of hand from there. I just invest in all sorts of stuff now. And then last year, I published my first book called Money Mechanics. And the book, really, the whole idea behind the book is just to help people understand more about how money really works in the real world. I think it's what we should all be taught at school. I think, it's mad to me that the world doesn't teach kids about compound interest when you're at the age that you can take advantage of it. People are learning about it in their 40s and 50s and 60s, and actually you can't take advantage of time at that point. So I wrote the book because I think everybody should know this stuff. And now the book exploded, which I wasn't really expecting. And now I get to spend my life talking about money and helping people to understand it better and ultimately have more money in their pockets.
And this is why you are a money honey, like the ultimate money honey, because you are a woman talking about money, talking about property, educating people, empowering people. This is what I love about this show, is that I selfishly get to sit here all day, every day, well, once a month, listening to you wonderful speakers, educating me. But my biggest honor and privilege is that I get to share this with everybody else listening, because that is so much in alignment with what I do and the mission with Manuka Media, which is to help make money and property more human, more accessible to everyday society. That is literally our strapline.
It's so accessible, and most people think that it isn't. I say all the time, you don't have to wait to be rich to start investing. Investing is what will make you rich. And so many people just don't understand that. You can start buying stocks and shares with £10, £10 a month actually compounded over time makes a difference. It's not going to be millions and millions, but it will make a difference to the point that you reach a point in your life where maybe you're considering retiring or having a family or buying a house or whatever it is. The sooner you can start, and even if it's just with like a tenner, the better.
Yeah, I love that you said a tenner, because transparently here, like just being open and honest here, there was a time when I was investing in stocks and shares on my own, and then I had to pull that money back out because I needed it, because I needed to pay stuff off, and then now I've just started again, and I've just been putting like £100 in Sol, £100 in Bitcoin, £100 in Ethereum, and then I'm just watching my app, them going down, and then they go up a little bit and they go down again. But yeah, it's just I'll be honest, like sometimes I don't even know what I'm doing, but I'm playing with money that I know I can. So the other day what I did was I ordered like loads of clothes from Club L London or whatever, like shops, right? And I tried them on and I was like, oh my God, they are so, like, they just didn't suit me. They just weren't right. So I returned those items immediately. And then when I got the refund, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to use this refund to buy some Bitcoin, or to buy I can't afford Bitcoin with just that, but I think I'll put it in Sol and Ethereum and Solana. And I just reinvested like some money that I would have spent maybe on a night out or on clothes or on whatever. I just put that in there. So if you've got money to put in like clothes, you've definitely got money to put in investments. Would you say that's right, Sarah?
Yeah, that's for sure.
Amazing. So, well, what I've already picked up from yourself, you said that you don't need to have money to, you can just start with a tenner, but you started with less than a tenner. You actually started in debt.
Yeah.
So tell us about that journey, because a lot of people are afraid to start investing with.
I think getting out of debt is a really hard thing to do, right? It's a really hard thing to do. And I think a lot of people people underestimate how much bandwidth being in debt takes up. And I also think there's a lot of shame associated with debt. Like, people don't want to talk about the fact that they're in debt because they feel embarrassed because they're in debt. A lot of people that I speak to now can't really tell me why they're in debt either. You say, okay, well, you've got 20 grand of debt. Where did it go? I don't really know. It just built up over time. I just spent a little bit more than I had. I don't really know where it came from. And that emotional part of it actually stops people talking about it, stops people asking for help about it, which actually keeps people in debt. So, society, the finance bros, the banks, the system, if we call it that, is built to keep us in debt, to keep us owing money, to keep us employed, to keep us in all the things that we are kind of, trained as a society to do. But the second you've got no debt, you realize actually it's a really different place. And the world is, the way that money works, it just works differently. It comes and it goes completely differently. So getting out of debt is a really hard thing to do. And I remember how hard we had to work to do that. It was really hard. We sacrificed a lot. We didn't do a lot of things. All the spare money that we had, we put into credit cards for nearly 2 years. And that takes some discipline, because there's always something fun to do. There's always, there's a Timberland sale this week, and I was looking at Timberland Jimmy Choo shoes, thinking, oh, they're nice, 50% off. Do I need new Timberland Jimmy Choo collab boots? No, I've already got a pair. I don't need a second pair. But back then, I would have bought them because they were on offer. And now, because I know how money, I'm like, well, actually, I could take that money, I could do something else with it. And because I understand how money really works, that it's not me saying no to stuff now. It's me saying yes to myself and my future finances. So I think the step of getting out of debt in the first place takes discipline. It takes conscious choice. Like, you have to decide that's what you're going to do. But again, a lot of people have a finite amount of money that they earn. Like, you can't just magic more money out of thin air. You have to do something intentional. You have to do something conscious. So, we did things like, I'd sell stuff on it wasn't Vinted then, but we would sell stuff on like car boots, or I would do any like extra work I could if there was any available. I think that there's a whole chapter in the book about like how you can start to make a difference to it. And once you start to see the momentum rolling, it actually starts to take care of itself, because the less debt you've got, the more you can put back into the debt. So banks encourage us to stay on minimum payments, right? So what they do is you'll pay your minimum payment, and your minimum payment reduces every month. That's how credit card companies actually make most of their money. So if your minimum payment, let's say month one, your minimum payment was £10. In month two, it'd be £9.50. In month three, it'd be £9. And your minimum payment's always reducing, always reducing. That whole structure is designed to keep you in debt for as long as possible. Whereas if you can afford the £10 one month, then you can afford the £10 in month two and month three and month four. And if you just keep it at consistent £10, instead of letting the bank reduce your minimum payments, you'll reduce your interest costs, you'll reduce your borrowing costs, you'll reduce your time being in debt by such a substantial amount that you will be out of debt really quickly. The banks don't tell us this. Schools don't teach us this. Nobody wants us to know this. And so the mission I'm on really is to sort of help people understand that even just those little changes to the way you manage the money that you have got makes a massive difference to the long-term overhaul of your money. I can't hear you. I can't hear you at all. You've just disappeared. I can see you.
That was funny, guys. I've just muted myself. No, you wouldn't have heard me. I'm so sorry. Sorry for the listeners. Basically, I mute myself so that I don't make any weird noises whilst you're talking. But yeah, I muted myself and then forgot to unmute myself. Apologies. But yeah, I was just saying that I completely agree with the whole point of teaching people how to manage their debt. So it's not so much like having fear or feeling ashamed of being in debt, but it's just knowing what to do with that. Because I've had to get like on finance, I've had to get like dental finance, or we've all had like maybe car finance before, and it's not so much about, oh no, it's so shameful, I can't pay for it outright. It's more about just knowing how to manage those payments and how to get out of it. Because when you're in debt, whether it's good debt or bad debt, you owe someone money, and that time in which you pay it back means that they're also making more money out of you. So if anything, it should be a motivation to kind of gain back your independence and gain back that control, so that you don't owe it for as long as you need to owe it.
And there's also like the psychological, emotional aspect to debt that I think a lot of people don't give any headspace to. But being in debt's stressful, like it is. There's no getting away from that. I definitely can't sit here and say, oh, just pay more money on your credit card. Just don't, shop at Lidl's instead of Tesco's. It's not as easy as that, actually. It's really not. It takes discipline and it takes conscious choice in different parts of. It's not just about, changing where you shop. Whilst that can help, it's not really about that. And if you look at the emotional aspect to it as well, if you can get your money mindset under control and the way you feel about money alongside the way you use your money, again, it takes time, but it will impact over. The more you can do it, the more disciplined you can be, and the more in control of both your emotions and your actual use of money, your practical use of the money, it will directly impact your long-term future and also your short-term.
Absolutely. Yeah. Something I do sometimes is have like a complete clear out. And I just think, like, what little bits can I sell? Like on Facebook Markets, I've sold so much, like, whether it's like £2 here, £10, £5, that's just like all the little things that might go into a little pot. And as the saying goes, if you look after the pennies, the pounds will look after themselves. Mm-hmm. So of course,
yeah. Also, how you buy stuff, right? So, like, I've got a bit of an obsession with plants. Not that you'd tell from this yellow plant behind me, but like, you can go to a garden centre and you can buy a plant for £30, or you can go to Facebook Marketplace and buy the same plant for a tenner. A lot of people find the stigma attached with buying stuff online. They want to buy new. Yeah. Actually, what difference does it make? It's the same plant.
Or you could buy seeds and plant your own.
Like there is different. There's ways that you can directly impact both your what you're earning and also what you're spending, but only if you choose to do it consciously.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely understand that. So talk to us about getting into property and how someone starting from either debt or nothing or with zero education, like how do you get into property? Because there are so many strategies. You chose rent to rent. So actually, let's begin there. Why did you choose rent to rent?
Well, honestly, I chose rent to rent because someone told me I didn't need any money to do it. And I very quickly found out that you do. And actually, that was nonsense of what they told me. I Rent to rent is a great strategy for cash flow. It's not a great strategy for wealth creation because you don't actually own anything. You're not creating anything that's yours. You're actually just managing property really for a fee. And, cash flow wise, that's great. I think what rent to rent did for me is it served its purpose for me for sure. It taught me every single way not to run a business. Like I didn't really know what I was doing because I was still learning. Um, it did make me some money. I made a lot of money in rent to rent, like more money than I'd ever seen. And cash flow wise, probably more. I had more cash flow then than I have now because all my money's invested now. So actually, I don't have lots of spare cash anymore. I invest everything. So it was a very different part of my life, but getting into rent to rent, I started working with a guy who was local to me. I couldn't afford a training course. I couldn't really afford to go on the programs that you see and stuff like online. I just didn't have the money to do that. So there was a guy close to me who did rent to rent, and I approached him and I said, look, if I can have your phone number and just drop you the odd WhatsApp every now and then to just get a bit of help, and I paid you 50% of everything that I made for a year, would you help me? And he said yeah. And so if I'm honest, I thought I was getting the best part of the deal. I didn't think I'd make any money. I kind of thought, well, I'll make a bit, but I won't really spend much on him. Actually, I did over 100 grand in my first year, and I ended up paying him over 50. And we actually created a business together, and we both earned hundreds of thousands of pounds out of that business. So the getting into it, I couldn't have done it without being able to ask good questions to people that had done it before me. And I think everybody starting a business in any space, actually, you need to invest time, effort, energy, or bring some value to other people so that they can give you the answers. Either spend money on it or spend your time on it, either way. And just shortcut to the answers. Because if you try and learn it yourself as you go, you're going to lose money anyway. So you might as well pay the money and then get the right answers so you don't make the painful mistakes that inevitably we all do in business. And it was fun. It was lots of negotiation, lots of marketing, lots of figuring out my way, and I was pretty good at it. And yeah, it was the foundations for everything else, actually, because that period helped me to be able to identify good from bad investments. And that's gone on to everything that I do now and everything that I'm going to do in the future, understanding the basics, the difference between what is a good investment and what is a bad investment, the difference between good debt and bad debt, and the difference between high risk and low risk in terms of not just opportunities, but people, time, all of that sort of stuff. I think those key things I learned really early on while I was doing rent to rent, and that's served me pretty well
What's,
since.
what's your favourite investment strategy now in property? What's your go-to?
I love a flip. I like buying houses, doing them up and selling them. I like the chunky money part of it. So like we've just completed on a flip 2 weeks ago, and we made 70 grand. So, we bought it in October. We've sold it in July, so less than a year, and we've been paid £70,000 net after everyone's paid back and everything's done. Actually, the work that went into it was hard work. It was long. It was hard. There was 4 of us working on it, and it was long hours and all those things. But for a very short space of time, for quite a big chunk of cash that we can then do something with. So, property wise, I like flips. I also think what's important to look at is every market is different, right? So right now, the property market tenants are a difficult batch of people right now. Legislation is very much in the tenants' court. It's hard to evict. The legislation is changing and evolving, and with a new government, we're going to see even more of that happening. So for me, I decided that we didn't really want any more tenants in our buy-to-let portfolio. We would keep what we've got. We're not getting rid of our property, by the way. We're definitely keeping it, but we would keep our tenants as we've got, and we would buy and sell instead, and we would put money into other asset classes, and we're starting to diversify. So flips probably is the answer. That was a long way to say.
Yeah, I love
flips,
it.
but
Yeah,
flips.
flips. Yeah.
I like a flip. I think you always have to have a backup plan with a flip, because if it doesn't sell or the market drops, then
Exit strategy,
you need
yeah.
to make sure that you can rent it out and still pay everybody and do everything. So as long as you've got that as a plan B, but plan A being a flip, then I probably would choose to do that.
And speaking of that, just to bring it to the next phase or the next steps for people who are listening to this, how do you work with people? Just tell us briefly, like, what do you do with people? How do you help? Obviously, you invest for yourself, but what's your actual role?
So I in 2017 I launched a training company, which I'd had so many clients come to me and say they'd learned about flips, or they'd learned about rent to rent, or they'd learned about serviced accommodation, or whatever it was, and they had a head full of theory, but they had no idea how to actually implement, how to actually do the job on a day-to-day basis. So we started a training company that focuses purely on operational improvement, building businesses and making the people good business people. They can then apply those rules to their property businesses. So Kajito Wealth is my training company, and we help property entrepreneurs take head full of theory and make it into a tangible, profitable, sustainable business. And we've been running that since 2017, and yeah, it's good fun. The clients get incredible results. You know, we've got clients buying a house a month every month for 2.5 years. There's all sorts of fun stuff. I think as a community, since we started in 2017, I think they've raised over £30 million private finance between them. There's, you know,
Wow.
it's a really good, really great community, because we focus so heavily on doing the work, not just talking about the principles of the work, but actually creating a CRM system, having processes, systemizing things, hiring the right team, all the stuff that you need, compliance, insurance, all that sort of stuff. Actually, what we do is we help people to set up real businesses that make real
And
money.
real property businesses, do you mean, or any business?
Yeah.
Okay, mainly property.
Yeah, real property. Probably 90% of our clients are property. We've also got other businesses like dental practices and signs businesses, and we've got consultants and estate agents and other companies in there, but 90% of them are doing things like flipped, rent to rent, development, serviced accommodation, that sort of stuff.
Amazing. Okay. Well, if people were interested then in working with you and finding you, obviously there's your #1 best-selling book on Amazon, Money Mechanics.
Yep.
There it is, guys. Yeah, absolutely brilliant book.
Yep.
I think I found the book before I found Sarah, which is telling you something. So,
which is great news for me to know.
Good to
Thank
know.
you.
Yeah, because I was like researching, books and money. Obviously, I went through the whole process of publishing my book on Amazon as well. So yeah, yours definitely came up. But yeah, if people wanted to reach out and work with you, what's the best place to do that?
Yeah, so if anyone wants the book, they can order it on Amazon. If they get it on my website, it's slightly cheaper, but you can just get in touch with me. Instagram's a great place for me. Facebook's a great place. You can, if you Google me, you can get me anywhere. I'm everywhere. So somehow you'll be able to get, and I can give you, Rosalia, I can give you my contact details to add with the
Yeah,
podcast.
definitely. We'll put all that in the show notes. And I love that you said, if you Google me, you'll find me everywhere, because being a branding person and being someone who does, awareness and visibility, I always say to my clients or people listening, I'm like, if you Google yourself, or if people Google you because they're interested, what will they find? And that really tells people everything they need to know about your brand. So I love your brand. I love everything that you stand for, Sarah. I am definitely going to have you back on the show. This is just a quick intro so that people can get to see your lovely face, get to see the lovely stuff that you're doing, and hear about what it is that you're doing. So we're doing quick fire interviews. So if you enjoyed this episode, everyone, please give Sarah a big thumbs up, or comment your highlights, maybe your light bulb moment, or even any questions that you might have. We always like to get back to people. We like to share, feedback. So please give Sarah some big love and a big appreciation, because she has obviously spent a lot of time here today to get ready to share all of her insights with you, or even just a snippet. So I hope you enjoyed that, and thank you again for tuning in to the Money Honey podcast. If you are a money honey yourself that you want to speak and share your journey, please do reach out, get in touch. I mean, we've been running this show now for over a year, and it's been fully booked every single month. So if you want to get on the waiting list for the next available slot, please do reach out. Or if you want to nominate someone that you think would be a great speaker, we'd love to hear from you. So thank you. I've been Rosalia Lazzarettilli, your host here at the Money Honey, and this is Sarah Poynton-Ryan. Thank you everyone for tuning in.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Sarah. Cheers.
See ya.